I am not officially starting yet. I decided to try a countdown timer today because last week I had tech issues and my video wasn't showing up where it was supposed to. So if you happen to see this, I would really love to know if you are on Facebook, where you are on Facebook, and if you're on YouTube, if you could just say hello, and that would be great. So we're going to be doing an embodied. Oh, great! Hi, Kay. I can even see your name. Sometimes I can't see people's names when they comment, so it's always nice when I can. Thanks for letting me know. And I'm actually curious, Kay, are you watching from my profile or from my Facebook group? That would be really helpful to know as well. And again, if anybody is watching on YouTube, I would love to know. I am aiming to be simulcasting from or to Facebook, my profile today, plus my group, plus YouTube. So all at the same time. And usually it works, but last week I had some difficulties. So I'm hoping that I can hear from you to know where you're watching from, whoever's here. We're going to get started in just a few minutes, and you can see the little countdown timer so you know exactly when we are officially beginning. If you know me and you've been following me at all, you know I just got back home. I had a performance of Vivaldi's Four Seasons over the weekend, and it was a kind of a big deal. I was back in my hometown and with my parents, and my aunt came in from Washington, D.C., and my son drove in. So a lot of family and saw old friends, and yeah, it was a really fun experience. Even an interview on the radio, which was fun. Kenya, you're on YouTube. Excellent. I can tell. Thank you so much. I'm so glad. So far, we are working in one place in Facebook and one place on YouTube, so that is great to know. Kay says, I think it's on your profile page, your name from a Facebook notification link. Fabulous. Thank you. Thanks for telling me. I'm hoping this system of getting started before we actually start with the timer is going to be helpful. But it does mean that I have to ramble now for 2 more minutes. Anyway, it's nice to see you showing up here. I'm looking forward to our meditation together in 2 minutes and 2 seconds. So yeah, I'm hoping that this is going to go to 2 places on Facebook. And actually, if you're watching from my profile page, Kay, and if you'd like to share this video into the Violin Guild or any other groups that you're a member of, you can actually share this into those groups, which would be really nice, and more people can benefit if you feel like doing it. No pressure. Yes, and the YouTube video can always be shared as well. It's totally public, just like my Facebook profile page is totally public to anybody on the internet. Anybody on Facebook, anybody on YouTube can watch these videos. So I never know who's going to see this. And if you are watching, if you could just say hello or say hi, I would love to interact. We're not officially starting for another minute, but it's always nice to have a little back and forth. Just tell me, you know, where you are, if you're a musician, maybe what instrument you play. I know Kenya and Kay, they are both violinists, and Kay also plays the piano. What we're going to do, this embodied meditation, is something that I do all the time. We're going to have 3 parts to today's video, and one of them is the TheCyCle, Primal Alexander etude that I'll be talking about briefly. And for now, I'm just waiting around for that timer to finish. That's great having everybody showing up. I think I can see your comments. There's a little bit of a delay, but if you could just say hello or, yeah, just say hi. I'd love to have an interaction with you. Okay, I'm about ready to get started. Welcome everybody. Welcome to today's guided meditation for musicians. This is actually a special meditation. I call it an embodied meditation because it may be a little different from what you're used to if you're new to my work. I call it an embodied meditation because it takes the whole person into account, including our bodies, our minds, our emotions, soul, spirit, whatever you believe or include as part of yourself. We're going to bring the whole self into this meditation practice. And the reason it's well, there are a lot of reasons why this is incredibly important for musicians, is that when you're making music, you want to bring your whole self to your music making, of course. So you want to optimize your state of being for your whole self before you begin practicing. This, by the way, what we're going to do today includes the best warm-up that I know as a musician. And just really briefly, if you don't know me at all, I'm Jennifer Roig-Francolí. I am a musician's coach. I help musicians with pain relief, stress release, how to overcome tension and performance anxiety, and dramatically improve their technique and musical skills. I teach something I call the art of freedom for conscious living and masterful artistry. And my work is very much based on the universal principles of the Alexander technique. And specifically, I teach exclusively online using a system developed by Mio Morales. It's called Primal Alexander, which is a hands-off, hands-free way of teaching and practicing the Alexander technique, which I have moved over to, even though I taught with my hands for years. I prefer this. I absolutely love Primal Alexander because it's so empowering for my students to know exactly what to do with the whole mind-body self. They have things to practice for a few minutes every day that integrates the whole self. And I'm actually going to be sharing some of that with you now. So welcome to this embodied guided meditation. I'm doing this every Monday for a while, probably for another month or so this summer. This video will be divided into 3 sections. The first part is a really nice coming back to yourself period, where we pause and notice what's actually happening. And by the way, I love things to be interactive. So if you're here and you want to just say hello or just, give me some feedback, it's really nice to have the back and forth exchange so it's not just me putting out. I really, really appreciate your energy when it comes back, and I can see your comments today, which is great. And then in part 2, we're going to do the Primal Alexander Awareness Etude called TheCyCle, which is the very first thing that I teach all of my clients, regardless of their instrument or skill level. I work with all kinds of musicians. So TheCyCle is universally helpful, and actually not even just for musicians. It's a very wonderful thing. It only takes a couple minutes. And then the third part of today's video will be just 5 minutes of silent meditation together. So let's get started. And by the way, if you have questions about anything, about the meditation, about the Art of Freedom method, about Alexander technique, I'm so easy to find. Just message me on Facebook Messenger, send me an email to jennifer@artoffreedom.me, or just, fastest, quickest way, ask me in the comments. And if I don't get to the questions and comments before the end of the video, I always circle back. So your questions will not go unanswered. So let's get started. The very first thing I want to suggest to you is to introduce a little healthy detachment between yourself and your screen. And if it helps to let your eyes go away from the screen for a moment, to maybe look around the room, take in your surroundings, I do encourage you to keep your eyes open for the first 2 parts of today's video. The third silent meditation part, you can have them open or closed as you wish. But for now, let's keep them open. So as you're taking in your surroundings, I also want you to include your internal environment. So ask yourself, what do I notice about myself right now? What am I noticing about my body? What's showing up for me internally right now? What does my body want to tell me? What am I feeling in my body? It could be anything that shows up, positive, negative, neutral, anything. Just notice whatever's showing up for you right now. As I'm speaking, I'm noticing a lot of things going on in myself. I'm noticing some tension in the back of my neck, for example. What else am I noticing? I'm noticing some easing, a little bit of relaxing in my thighs. Now the back of my neck is easing a little bit. If you want to just type in whatever you're noticing, go for it. Feel free. Now I'm noticing my hands are releasing a little bit. I'm hearing birds. My windows are open and I feel some nice fresh air on my face. I'm also a little nervous, and I know that because there's just a little tightness in the chest area. Interesting. What's showing up for you? Ask yourself, what do I notice about my body right now? Whatever you notice is exactly what needs to be noticed right now. An important part of this meditation is to just notice, just observe, and leave any judgment out of it. So if you have something that's a little uncomfortable or that you don't like showing up, or maybe you have a lot of pain, if something you don't like is showing up, rather than trying to fix it or ignore it or change it or run away from it or deny it, all those things that the habits that we have do, if you, instead of doing that, can you just acknowledge it, just notice it for a moment without judging it, but don't dwell on it, don't stay there for more than a few moments. Instead, come back to this question and ask yourself again, what else am I noticing about my body right now? See if you can shift your attention away from the thing that's a little uncomfortable or a lot uncomfortable, so that you're moving your attention around in your body. It's possible to move your attention. You can pay attention to something outside of yourself, you can pay attention to something inside of yourself, but no two parts of your body are going to feel exactly the same. So even if, worst case scenario, you have pain everywhere, can you begin to distinguish between one area and another? Is there a little less pain somewhere? A little different color, flavor of pain? Is there a place that's a little less uncomfortable? If you feel great everywhere, celebrate, but don't get too excited. Just keep asking, what else? What else is showing up for me? Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? If you're new to my work, I strongly recommend that you write down the question that I just suggested to you. Specifically, where else do I seem to be easing a bit? That's a really important question, and the specific words are extremely important. This has been tried and tested and proven to work over years with hundreds of people. There's a lot to this question. We call it constructive thinking in Primal Alexander. So most of the time people think it's easy to remember, but then they substitute other words like feel or feeling. So even if you have a great memory, even if you're super smart, I strongly urge you, if you want to try this out for yourself, write down the question. I do have my students do the next thing that we're going to do in a moment twice a day. And you want to do it the way that I'm teaching it, which is with these exact words. So I'll give them to you again. You're going to hear them a lot today. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? Good. I see someone here, Facebook user. I can't see your name, sadly. It's probably because you're in my Facebook group. And so there's a privacy thing there unless you give me your name. You give permission. At the top of the post, you may see that Ecamm requests permission to show your name, but being anonymous is totally fine. That's great. But someone is saying, I feel calm. I'm really happy to hear that. I'm just seeing a little star there. Wow, I've never seen that before. I don't know what that does. But, here's something else we can do. Oh, that's pretty nifty. I can actually bring a comment over here. Oh, I like that. Great. Okay, so moving on. Just keep coming back to yourself and asking, what do I notice about myself? What do I notice about my body right now? And each moment is a new moment. In each moment, your body is slightly different. So ask yourself again and again, what am I noticing about my body right now? Good. And then just ask again, right now, what do I notice about my body? Good. My left foot just relaxed a little bit. We're not trying to relax, by the way. Don't try to make your body relax. Just get curious and ask, what am I noticing about my body right now? Okay. So let's move on to part 2 of this video. We're going to do something called the cycle. The cycle, as I said earlier, is the first Primal Alexander awareness etude developed by master teacher, also my partner, Mio Morales. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing, as my students can attest. And I just performed the 4 seasons on Saturday, and I did a lot of this. The morning of, I did it as I was driving. It does actually help you to become more present, more alert. You keep your eyes open for the cycle. We are learning how to integrate our inner experience with our experience of the environment, which is a really important skill for a musician. You want to be very creative and awake to your internal creativity and what's going on in your body, your musculature, your emotions. If you have performance anxiety, you want to not try to run away from that or mask the symptoms. You want to actually be very present to what's happening, and yet you're also completely present to your environment so that you can communicate with your fellow musicians, so that you can see the music and take it in, and so you can respond to the audience and communicate and share that depth of emotion in the music. You need to be able to feel the depth of emotions of the music and to be able to communicate those emotions. You need to have the ability to let your emotions flow and move through you. And being aware of your internal experience is essential for that. But you can't only be focused inward, otherwise you're kind of shutting yourself off from the world and you're reducing your capacity for authentic communication with your conductor, with your fellow musicians, your colleagues, with your audience, if you're a teacher, with your students. Okay? So there's so many wonderful benefits and reasons to practice the cycle and everything that we're doing today. And today I'm just giving you the teeniest, tiny little taste of a world of freedom that's possible with the Art of Freedom and Primal Alexander. So here's how we do the cycle. It only takes a couple of minutes, but as I teach it, of course, it takes a little longer. And if you want the full introduction to the cycle, you can go to YouTube or my Facebook group, my free group, which is the Musician's Advantage with Jennifer Roig-Francolí. There is an introductory video teaching the cycle more in depth than what we're going to do now. I'm just going to give you the basics right now. So we're going to cycle through all 10 fingers, one at a time, starting with the thumb. So hold your thumb gently, no squeezing or twisting, softly Hold your thumb and now rest your arms in your lap or wherever's comfortable so you don't have to hold up your arms. On each finger, I'm going to count to 4. After each number, we're going to ask that question that I shared with you, that I said the specific words are very important, so write it down later or practice with the videos so that you don't substitute words without realizing it, which most people do, even if they think they're not. They do. It's a funny thing. So I'm going to ask this question out loud after each number so that you can get the hang of it. I'm going to do that for a few fingers, then I'm going to start to trail off so that you can ask yourself the question mentally after each number. If it helps, if you're new to this, to say the question out loud, that's totally fine. The more you practice this, the more you want to be doing it mentally, however. And you can say the numbers out loud, or you can also graduate to saying the numbers mentally as well. But in the beginning, it does help to keep your thoughts orderly, to do at least the numbers out loud on your own. For now, just listen and I'll guide you. So starting with the thumb, oh yes, it's not just about the words. This etude, this awareness etude, works deeply on the whole system because of how we ask this question. And here's the thing, what we did before, really noticing what was going on in the body, that practice is actually called ima, which means now in Japanese. That's a Primal Alexander kind of pre-etude, pre-awareness etude. That was actually noticing things in the body. But we're not going to do that with the cycle. We're actually just going to ask this question, but we're going to do it in a lighthearted, carefree manner where we're actually just sort of asking the question and tossing it up and out of ourselves so that we're not going down into the body with our attention. Now, if you notice something showing up, that's totally fine. The body will do what it does. If something relaxes, great. If you notice tension, great. It really doesn't matter. We're just going to keep moving on. We're just going to keep asking the question. And every time you ask the question, I want you to let go of the question. Ask it, toss it up into outer space and let it evaporate immediately. Don't think about it, don't dwell on it. It sounds weird because we're so used to asking questions and requiring answers. That's part of what makes this really different and very powerful, is we're kind of turning on the curiosity switch in the brain. We're including awareness of the whole self, but we're asking this question in a way that is light and no concentration involved. You ask the question and you let it go. That's all. It's so simple. And yet it does require practice, and this is absolutely a skill. And again, I have people do this twice a day, and I challenge everybody here, if you're not already doing this, I dare you. Do the cycle twice a day, once in the morning, or like once as a warm-up for your practice session, very powerful, or once in the evening. Do it twice a day for a week, and I dare you to find out what happens and let me know. I really want to hear about your experience. Okay, so no more talking, Jennifer. We're just going to do the cycle now. Again, we're holding the thumb softly, resting your arms. I'm going to count to 4. We're asking a question, tossing it out and letting it go, and moving on to ask again. 1. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 2. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 3. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 4. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? Sometimes the answer might be, I don't know, who cares? Index finger. 1. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 2. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 3. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 4. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? Middle finger. 1. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 2. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 3. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 4. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? Ring finger. 1. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 2. Where else? 3. Where else? 4. Where else? Pinky. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 2. Where else? 3. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 4. Where else? Good. Let's do the second hand, moving to the thumb. If you're just joining us, we're holding one finger at a time very softly, counting to 4 on each finger. Just asking this simple question in a way that requires no answer. Just tossing it out, up and out of you and letting it go, letting it dissolve and moving on. 1. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 2. Eyes are open. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 3. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 4. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? Index finger. 1. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 2. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 3. Where else? 4. Middle finger. 1. Where else? 2. 3. Where else? 4. Ring finger. 1. Where else? 2. 3. Where else? 4. Last but not least, pinky. See if you can ask the question with even less intensity for the last finger. Just a whisper of a thought. 1. Where else do I seem to be easing a bit? 2. Where else? 3. Where else? 4. Now, in Primal Alexander, the hands-free system of Alexander technique that I teach, what we just did is the cycle. That's only the very first of many, many awareness etudes. And this first one is quite meditative. But the ones that come after the cycle start to include movement. So you're learning how to bring that easy, effortless, light sense of calm, relaxed being to your actual movements. And that's how, over time, we start to integrate that sense of being to playing more and more complex musical compositions and doing really, if you're a very skilled professional, I'm a professional violinist. I've been playing my entire life. I just performed the 4 seasons. And doing the constructive thinking that I just introduced, learning how to do it non-verbally is a skill that requires practice and building up to. So I have my students do these awareness etudes every day so that they develop the quickness of mind and integration of mind-body self to be able to even do that when they're playing Tchaikovsky concerto or, I work with all instruments, not just violinists. So, and all skill levels, by the way. I work with beginners to help them be more present, more focused, calmer, more relaxed. overcome performance anxiety, relieve pain, overcome injury. It all starts with being able to be centered, present, focused, and to relieve excess tension that gets in the way, that we don't need when we're playing our instruments. So TheCyCle is the very first awareness etude in Primal Alexander, hands-free Alexander technique. And there are many, many more that start to incorporate movement. And again, we're quickening the conscious mind so we become very, very present and alert and can think really precisely. So technique can improve dramatically, really quickly. Practice methods are greatly enhanced with this type of presence. So let's move on to part 3, the last part of this embodied meditation video, which I do every Monday live on Facebook in my free Facebook group and on YouTube. Today I'm also doing it live from my profile page. I don't always do that, but today I decided to do that. This last section is simply 5 minutes of silent meditation. You can have your eyes open or closed, or utilize any meditative or contemplative or prayer practices that you like to do. I'm just going to sit with you for 5 minutes, and I'd like to dedicate these 5 minutes of silent meditation together. Whether you're watching the replay or not, I feel that doing this in community is very powerful. So I'd like to dedicate this to world peace, starting with peace in our individual selves, in our mind, body, and spirit. So starting here and sharing it with the world, and also for the health of our planet, Earth. So I'm going to look at the clock and try to keep this approximately 5 minutes. So thank you so much for being here with me now. Let's join together for these 5 minutes of silent meditation, starting now. Alright, so that's the end of our silent meditation, the end of today's video. Thank you so much for being here or watching the replay. Again, I'm doing this every Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern in my free Facebook group. It's called The Musician's Advantage with Jennifer Roig-Francolí, and also on my YouTube channel, where you can find a lot of, in both places, you can find teaching videos about my mind, body, spirit practice and how you can become more integrated and bring more ease into your musical practice and performance. So if you're curious to learn more, again, what we did today is just the tip of the iceberg, tiniest little taste of a huge world of possibility for effortless music making, overcoming pain, healing faster from injury, preventing injury, overcoming performance anxiety, and vastly improving your musical technique and skills. So just reach out to me if you want to learn more. I offer private and group programs. I do coaching for musicians of all kinds, all adults. So I hope to hear from you soon. Come join my Facebook group if you're not a member yet, and have a wonderful day. Do the cycle twice a day for about a week, and let me know along the way what you're experiencing. I would really love to hear from you. Just send me a message or email me at jennifer@artoffreedom.me. You can also look at my website. It's www.artoffreedom.me. And you can find out more about my life as a professional violinist and how I help musicians. So, thanks again for being here. If you liked it, please share it, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I hope to have you with me next Monday. I'm probably going to do this for another month or so this summer. So, thanks again. Take care and lots of love.